Our top story this morning, a possible diplomatic breakthrough in the crisis in Ukraine. President Obama returned home last night after his 4-day visit to Europe that included the ceremonies for the 70th anniversary of D-Day. While in Normandy, President Obama and Russian President Vladimir Putin talked briefly about the situation in Ukraine, and he wasn't the only one.
Petro Poroshenko, the new Ukrainian president who was sworn in this morning, also spoke with the Russian president. It was their first meeting since Russia annexed the strategic Crimean Peninsula. Chip Reid is in our Washington bureau with more. Chip, good morning.
Well, good morning, Vanita. During the D-Day ceremonies in Normandy, it appeared at first that Presidents Obama and Putin were going out of their way to avoid even looking at each other. But after a ceremonial lunch, President Obama initiated a conversation. It was brief and informal, but the White House called it a positive development. In France, to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the D-Day invasion, President Obama and Russian President Putin met informally Friday for about 15 minutes. It was their first meeting since the violent conflict in eastern Ukraine began. A senior White House official said President Obama told Putin that de-escalating tensions depends upon Russia ceasing support for separatists in eastern Ukraine and stopping the provision of arms and materiel across the border. The president said this Friday about his relationship with the Russian leader.
We generally have a business-like relationship and are very candid and blunt with each other. There are areas where there has been great cooperation between the United States and Russia, but on this particular issue of Ukraine, we have a deep difference.
Putin also met with Ukraine's president-elect Petro Poroshenko, a billionaire businessman who's accused Putin of fomenting the violence by supporting the pro-Russian insurgents. After the meeting, Putin said he agreed with Poroshenko's call for an immediate ceasefire, but he also denied any responsibility for the fighting, claiming that the two sides during the negotiations should not be Russia and Ukraine because Russia is not a participant in this conflict, a position that U.S. officials say is completely at odds with the facts.
I think there is a great deal of hard evidence that Russia is involved, deeply involved with the separatists. We have long seen credible reports of Russian soldiers operating without insignia in Ukraine.
White House officials said President Obama was more optimistic about Ukraine than he had been before the meeting, but they also downplayed expectations, noting that Putin's words are often inconsistent with his actions. They said we'll learn more about his real intentions in the coming weeks. Vanita?
Chip Reid in Washington this morning. Thank you.